This latest report from Republicans on the House Intelligence Committee. In it, they claim, quote, based on our investigation involving a variety of public and non-public information, we conclude that there are indications that SARS-CoV-2 may have been tied to China's biological weapons research program and spilled over to the human population during a lab-related incident at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. They say the intelligence community downplayed important information and links between China's bioweapons research and COVID-19. The Republicans also say U.S. intelligence agencies refused to answer their questions. The Republicans say they've not found a smoking gun, though, that resolves COVID-19's origins. The GOP report says it based its bioweapons conclusion in part on information from outside experts. In October of 2021, the intelligence community released an unclassified report criticizing that method, saying, quote, we remain skeptical of allegations that SARS-CoV-2 was a biological weapon because they are supported by scientifically invalid claims. Their proponents do not have direct access to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, or their proponents are suspected of spreading disinformation. Now, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released that report. We reached out to them. They say they have no comment on this Republican report. Back to you, Daniel.
Thank you so much, Rich. Well, Congressman Brad Wenstrup has been leading the GOP investigation into the origins of the COVID pandemic. He joins us now from Capitol Hill, and thank you for doing so. So how did you get about finding this information? And if you could just maybe sum up in your mind the most important findings in the report.
Yeah, I'd be glad to do that. And, a lot of things that we found through open source. What we're able to realize is that in China, they have their Academy of Military Medical Science. And part of that academy is a subset called the Fifth Institute. And this institute is involved outwardly on coronaviruses and bioweapons. So we have this information. In 2005, our own State Department said that we know that the Chinese are looking to create offensive bioweapons. In 2015, the Chinese even released an entire book that talked about human viruses as a genetic weapon. Also in 2015, open source, we saw that there was an article published where Ralph Barrick from North Carolina and Dr. Shi Zhengli at Wuhan Institute of Virology together created a chimera, or what we call gain-of-function type of virus, where you take parts from two different viruses to create one. And in many cases, the concern is it going to be super infectious? And even in 2021, we found that our State Department came out and said that the scientists from the institute that are with the military, associated with the military, were publishing articles associated with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The association has been clearly identified throughout. But in their report, in the IC's report, they just came out and said there's a broad agreement that that COVID-19 was not developed as a bioweapon. But they don't give us any level of confidence on that, which they do with their other theories. And they also give us no basis for this. So there is so much information that's out there. We want to get more out to the American people and hope to declassify what we've put together. But right now we have an unclassified report.
Let me just jump in here a moment here. If I've got this right, I think I'm reading a critical line from the report. It says, we have not seen any credible indication that the virus is intentionally rather than accidentally released, which would suggest absent of intent, correct?
Yeah, I would say that we don't know, whether this was something that was released intentionally, which I find it hard to believe that they would want to release it on their own people. But at the same time, it could have accidentally got out of the lab. Bill, I don't have much doubt in my mind, and again, this is my opinion with everything I've read, that really the first super spreader event came from the wet market. I do believe that to be the case. The question is, how did that virus get to the wet market? And look, there's all types of scientists that are saying this thing is genetically engineered. You can go through Fauci's emails. That concern has been there from the beginning. And so, one thing that I am concerned about is Adam Schiff's going to have their report, and he said there's no need to get to the origins of this. And actually, there is a need to get to the origins of this. One, for our national security, two, for our global health security. And as a physician, I can tell you, you need to know how things begin if you're going to be able to treat them, take care of it, or try to prevent it.
That was going to be my last question, which is, I think a lot of Americans would look at this and say, how in the world could this effort not be bipartisan? you're trying to get to the origins of COVID. So what was your interaction with the Democrats? Did you offer to work with them? Did they offer to work with you? Or are these just two separate reports that won't come to the same conclusion?
Well, I will tell you this, and what I've seen within the Intelligence Committee is we have several members on the other side of the aisle that are just as upset as we are with the intelligence community refusing to answer our questions. It's happened in committee. We have sent letters requesting information, and we either get stonewalled or we get nothing whatsoever. I've even heard a Democrat say, if you're not going to answer our questions, it makes it hard for us to want to fund your budget. So it's becoming a little bit more bipartisan. I hope that it is, but in the last 2 years, you haven't seen the Intelligence Committee bring in anybody concerning this of stature that we intend to do.
It seems absolutely foolish for the world to move on without trying to find an answer on this. Whether or not you get any cooperation out of Xi or the CCP in Beijing is another question. Brad Wenstrup, thank you. The congressman from Ohio, thanks for coming on today.
You bet. Thank you.